Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Homeschool Live with the Old Schoolhouse. My name is Christine, and joining me today is Robbie from Family Moments. Thanks for joining us today, Robbie.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
So, why don't you? We're going to get into family moments in a bit, but I want to know, and I'm sure our viewers want to know a little bit about who you are. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, I grew up in a small little country town in southern Illinois. Went to church as a family, but really didn't come to know the Lord until I was in college, and majored in business and went on and worked in insurance for a while, and ended up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is where I live now. And that was just going to be a temporary place with an insurance office, but found, of course, my wife, and we ended up getting married, and the rest is history. So, but in the
Oh,
course of that, found a church that we really liked, and was a big volunteer with the kids. And next thing you know, I'm getting hired as a program director, and then went back to
nice.
school and became a pastor and served as the children's pastor of our church for 24 years, and
Awesome.
loved every minute of it. I just really, it's a big church for our town. At the time, it was about 2,500, so we had
Wow.
about 400 kids on a Sunday morning.
Wow.
So a volunteer team of about 1,000, about 100, and so felt a lot like a superintendent, but really enjoyed all of it. And so a lot of experience under the belt with kids and volunteers and leading. And it's not the way I scripted it, but it certainly has been fun.
It's funny how God works, and we don't always see the steps ahead of us sometimes. And but if we follow His leading, good things are bound to happen. So
Hmm.
that's great. That's a great testimony. And so I think when we were talking before, you had mentioned that you also homeschooled your kids. Why
Yes.
don't you tell us a bit about your journey there?
Well, my wife got a degree in college in education, and so we got married, and she went to work and taught for 2 years in the public schools, and quit. She didn't like it, didn't want to teach anymore. And so along came our two kids, and when it became school age time, we enrolled them in public school. And I came home from work one day, and she said, "I think I'm going to homeschool." And I said, "I
Mm.
thought you said you'll never homeschool." And she said, "I just want to give it a shot because there's some things I don't like that are happening with our kids."
Mhm.
I said, "Well, you realize I work full time, so I mean, I can help what I can, but it's going to be on your shoulders, and I don't know what we're getting into. I just don't know this game." And so, long story short, we took it 1 year at a time and ended up going the whole way, and loved every bit of it. And Fort Wayne, Indiana is a pretty big homeschool community, and fell in love with
Awesome.
these people. And in fact, a couple years into it, she was signing up for so many co-ops and field trips and special groups. I just said, "Would you just stop signing up for everything? We don't have to do it all. We're running around more as homeschoolers than we were as regular public student kids, and so we cut back and made life a little bit more doable. And it's been a great experience. It really been. I wouldn't do it any other way now, but at the time it was a
Awesome.
little scary. So
Yeah. So what would you say was the biggest challenge that you saw that homeschooling families were facing while you were homeschooling?
that's a great question, and that probably changes over time. But I
Sure.
know. The challenge, of course, people outside the homeschool community think that homeschoolers don't know how to socialize, and they're not involved in
Mm,
stuff, and they make their own clothing and all this stuff. And while that might be true to some degree, for the most part it's a big stereotype. And our kids had probably more socializing in the homeschool community than they ever would have at school.
that's
And it
right.
was more uh, encompassing. It wasn't like their little class. Everybody in that community from first grade to 12th cared, and it was a great model for how it should be in schools. It's just hard. But the biggest challenge, I think, one of them is probably there's so much information now. It's hard to
It's
pick
true.
curriculums and programs and schedules. And if you've ever been, I'm sure you have, to homeschool conventions that are,
Conditions are key.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're massive and so many exhibitors, and you walk through and you're almost more confused than when you started. And so you have to forgive yourself and just say, it's okay. I don't have to know
Yeah.
all this. And just find what works for you and then stick with it, or adjust on the fly if you need to. But it's challenging because mom and or dad are now wearing a lot more hats and they care about their kids' education. But you got to balance it with real life and get yourself a little break too.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's you kind of touched on a little bit of advice there, but what would be your official word of advice for homeschoolers? Those who are, a lot of our viewers are sometimes just considering,
Yeah.
starting homeschooling, and they hear all of those stereotypes and they get worried. What would you say to those
If I would
parents?
imagine most homeschool parents probably come from traditional school.
Well,
And so
yeah.
there's these expectations of having to have these great grades to get into college and get this job. And so we put these same weights on our kids. And the truth is,
Mm.
like in regular school, if you're bad at math, you better study harder on math. You better crack down. And the truth is, you're probably not going to do anything in math when you get out of school. I
Um,
hated chemistry and science. I just hated it. But I had to do that because it's just what you do. And of course, I haven't touched a chemistry book since high school.
this
And so
is
I
true.
think a good word of advice is just whatever your kids are bent towards, go ahead and develop that. And there's this fear too that we had two kids. We have one that's he's now 25 tomorrow, and he's working full time. He didn't go on to college, and we have a daughter who's 22 who's graduating next month from college. But when the older one didn't want to go to college, it was surprising because he was pretty smart academically. And when the younger one definitely wanted to go to college, she was not as good academically. She was more social developed.
Right.
And so I was pretty nervous when she started college, thinking, I wonder if this is really going to work. Did our homeschool experiment, or is she going to struggle or drop out? Where was she really at? We didn't know.
Right. Right.
And I remember over Christmas that freshman year getting an email, or she did, and she said, "Hey, Dad, what does the dean's list mean?" I said, "Why do you ask?" She said, "I got this email said I made the dean's list. What's that mean?" I said, "You made the dean's list?" I said, she goes, "What is that?" I said, "It's when you did really good
You
and
did really
good
good. Yeah.
grades." I said, "I never made the dean's list when I was in college, ever." And
That's
so it was really
amazing.
affirming. And then she's made the
Yeah.
dean's list every semester since. And
Good
so
for
I'm bragging on
her.
my daughter. But
Yeah.
I really, she took it seriously. She knew it was a lot of money. She knew our budget's always tight, and she just cracked down. And just really proud of her. But again, she's not taking a lot of math, science, and all these things. Those are important for the well-rounded part, and you have to have those electives, I guess, to get the college degree. But I think we all know college is kind of a game too,
It
and
is. Yeah.
it's a expensive, ridiculous kind of a game. But I'm
Very.
not discounting the value or some of the good things about it. But it's definitely different than when I was in college, and it wasn't great then either. So
Yep, I can agree. I can agree. Well, I'm so glad that you shared that testimony to homeschooling, and I hope you out there who are listening are encouraged by this, because there are so many opportunities for homeschoolers now. Even when we were kids, it was a lot less, right? And now communities are booming. You've got so much support in terms of curriculum out there, and yeah, this just finding like-minded homeschoolers around you. um, it's totally doable,
yeah,
and there is a bright future for your kids. And it's endless. The possibilities are endless. You're not limited to X, Y, or Z. You've got so many options. So this is really encouraging. So thanks, Robbie, for sharing that.
yeah, big heart for
Yeah.
the homeschoolers. Love them.
Yeah, awesome. So, speaking of heart, I would like to dive into family moments. Can you tell us all about what family moments is?
Yeah, very easily. So being the children's pastor for 24 years, and then along came COVID in 2020, and all the churches seemed to be going online with sermons and everything. And we were told to go home for 6 weeks at the initial start of that.
Right.
And my daughter, who was in high school at the time, she said, "Well, that's great that all the churches are going online. Great for the adults. What about the kids?
Yeah.
They're not going to want to watch a bunch of boring sermons online." I said, "You're probably right." And I said, "Why don't we start a little YouTube channel for the kids at our church, to kind of keep them in touch with us," not realizing there's a whole world out there clamoring for good, clean, wholesome, family-friendly content.
Yes.
And so it started off as just a little idea with no real followers. All of a sudden, we had 1,000 people following us. I'm like, who are these people?
Wow.
and then 5,000, and then 10,000, then 20,000. And I'm like, what is going on here? We get emails from all over the world. And I felt like, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. And our church shrunk through the whole pandemic, and there was a lot going on. And so I knew there was going to be budget cuts. I knew there was going to be people getting let go. I really probably could have stuck around and fought for my spot because I'd been there so long, but it
Mhm.
really had nothing to do with that. It was the Lord saying, I think it's time to step
Yeah.
off staff and take
Wow.
24 years of experience with kids outside the walls and start reaching people in a different way. And so there's about, I don't know what the numbers are, 2 billion sets of eyeballs on YouTube every month.
Wow.
And
That's
I
incredible.
want a piece of that for the gospel. I want to reclaim some of that because a lot of it's not great, and there's good stuff too. But when I
Yeah.
look at what we do, which is just it's a simple weekly show
Mm.
where we use object lessons that teach truth and application. It's really nothing more than a small family devotional that people can use and draw closer to each other and to the Lord. And I think
Mhm.
there's not a lot like that out there. There's cartoons and kind of kids
Yeah.
shows, lots of sermons, lots of long stuff. But I think 24 years of kid experience, I have a pretty good pulse on what kids respond to. And I take it seriously. I don't, it's not a bunch of fluff. There's a big fun element to it, but ultimately we want to teach and give them a way to apply that, and then hopefully have the discussion questions where parents can engage the kids, and it works. And so we're still growing, still figuring this out. I had stepped
Mm.
off staff, so I do YouTube full time now.
Wow.
My daughter is at college, and so we've been doing this together. But when she went off to college, I had such a good base of families, a lot of relational equity. So all these kids want to be on the show while she's gone to be kind of guest co-hosts.
Aw.
And so it's so fun because I'm not selling them or trying to establish, they know who I am. And so it's just fun because it's one thing to minister to kids. It's a whole different ballgame to minister with kids. And
Yeah.
so every Monday night down here in the studio in our basement, have another family in, and we are huddling together. We're praying together. We're talking through. We're not just holding the
So
phone
good.
up. We're going to script this out. It's already scripted out, and we execute. And they know it's going to take a couple hours. And when it posts, we want your family to be proud of you, not you to be embarrassed by it. And they get it. They're totally into it. It's so much fun, and it's a lot of
Wow.
work. Um,
Yeah, and it should testify though that because they want to and they're, investing their time in it, that's a testament to how you have presented it to them. And so that it's so encouraging because like you said, there's so many my kids are on YouTube all the time and I'm constantly going and checking, okay, what are they watching? Because it's so easy for the algorithms to start feeding all kinds
that's
of
right.
garbage. And you look one day and okay, they're looking at so and so and so and so, and they're good. That's fine. That's what I told them to watch. And then all of a sudden there's like these random things kind of sneaking in and it's like, oh goodness. So I know we're always looking for good content, and for sure family moments is going to be going
Yeah,
to
it
be
doesn't take
on our
much
list.
for bad stuff to creep in. One wrong
Yeah.
click or one little rabbit trail, and next thing
Yeah,
you know, all these things are popping up that you don't want to see, much less your kids see. And
exactly.
I know we had I knew we were onto something a few months into it when I got a phone call, and they said, "Hey, we want you to come do a live show at our church." I'm like, "Live show? What do you mean live show?" They said, "We want you and Sadie to come in, do some object lessons. We'll pay you like $1,000." I'm like, "Oh, that live show? Yes, we have a live show." And we really didn't, but we started putting it together. And we would do different shows for different churches or camps, and we've done that. And then when she went off to college, we had put that on the back burner for a
Right.
while. It's just too hard to keep that going.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had a family a few months ago from West Lafayette, which is about a couple hours from Fort Wayne, and they had emailed me and said, "Hey, can you come? I run our homeschool community in West Lafayette. We'd love to have you guys come in and do some object lessons." I said, "Well, we're not really doing that right now. Maybe in the summer, but it's not going to happen right now." And then she responded, well, we're going to be in Fort Wayne in March for the homeschool convention. Any chance we can pop by and say hi? And I said, well, why don't we just plan to have the kids on the show? And they were just so elated. And not that we're these big stars, but they watch us all the time.
Yeah.
So last week was the day, and they came in, and they were there's 6 kids. Two of them are too little
Wow.
to be on the show,
Yeah.
but they had their lines memorized. They knew every nuance. What a great opportunity for me to interview them, not on camera, but to find out when do you watch us? How often do you watch us? What does that look like in your home? Just tell me, how did you find us? So they
Yeah.
share the story of looking for something wholesome online, a family devotional. This pops up. They watched it. The kids liked it. And they said, now every day at lunch, when we're all at the table, we turn it on and we watch an episode. We ask the questions. We pray together. And we do that every day. I'm like, no wonder you know this so well. I mean, you know it better than I do. But it's so
Wow.
encouraging to think, yeah, as a children's pastor, I don't know if I could get families to even do a take-home paper, much less a
Oh,
devotion.
yeah, it's true.
And so here, with the push of a button,
Wow.
because it's YouTube, they're
Mm.
having discussions about biblical matters. Guess what? You're doing a devotional. You are leading spiritually at its basic level. And to have actual spiritual conversations in the home, well, I'll do that all day long. If it works, let's keep it going. But it's very, very thrilling, very affirming when I have
Yeah.
stuff like that happen. Um, but there's other days where I'm like, what in the world am I doing? Sitting here making silly videos, helping people watch them. Well, we have a good steady crowd. It's never enough. We always want more.
Yeah.
And we make income, but it goes up and down. Like I want
Right.
a little more steady.
Oh,
I
yes, I agree.
mean, nobody does church work for the money, but it's nice to have a regular
Yeah.
paycheck.
Yeah.
With YouTube,
It's nice
it's
to
not a
know that.
regular
Yeah.
paycheck. It's all over the place. So
Of course. Of course. And I mean, my brain is going for ideas for you, but I'm thinking about how homeschoolers can use this platform, um, just to encourage exactly what you said, just getting that habit of doing devotionals and all of that stuff. Like, do you have like a cheat sheet? Do you have sort of a something that you could share maybe with homeschoolers as in addition to watching?
we
Uh,
don't. That's a good question. I mean,
yeah, I
we
just
on our website we have lesson plans where some
okay,
people
okay,
want to do these live themselves, or
okay,
a lot of churches show our stuff, a lot of Christian schools show our stuff, and they use that for their little morning assembly time. And so we get that a lot. And it's certainly just going to the website and finding it. And sometimes we'll do stuff for free. Sometimes we charge a couple dollars for a
right,
lesson plan. But um,
right,
I'm always trying to think too, like I still teach at our church as a volunteer,
sure,
and I
yeah,
think these kids don't know their verses and their Bible very well, some better than others. And I think I'm going to do some kind of a summer curriculum of making it fun to learn Bible verses. That's nothing new, but it's just I can present it in maybe a different
oh
way. I don't know.
yeah. And I have worked in the kids ministry as well, and in the past, and it's an ever changing platform in terms of how you present it, because the kids change, their interests change. Like, you're wondering why, it's just a simple show that you threw on YouTube, but like, for me, my kids will say, oh my gosh, Robbie's famous because he's on YouTube. So that's their mindset. And so,
Mhm.
like, if you were to have my kids on your show, they would be so excited because they think they're going to be famous because they're on
Well, it's
YouTube.
fun. That's the world they live in, and they just
Exactly,
really
exactly.
do.
And so, like, God bless this platform for you to reach more and more, and to give you more and more ideas to use that. And specifically, for homeschoolers, for us homeschoolers, that we can take advantage of these resources. Because yeah, we cannot, as parents, we cannot rely just on the church to feed our kids. We have to have that responsibility
Yeah.
ourselves to make sure that we are putting the word of God in front of them. So if this is one of the ways we use to do that, this is fantastic.
Well, I know that we have a lot of homeschoolers that watch our channel, and a couple of years ago, we thought, well, what if we should we go down to the Cincinnati convention? It's a massive one with 4 or 5 thousand families coming through, and we can get a booth, but what do we sell? I mean, people don't usually buy digital downloads at a booth at a
Right.
homeschool convention. We don't have any hard product, but let's just do it. We'll bite the bullet, lose a little money, and meet some people, and just get a pulse on where are we at with all these homeschoolers. And so we had, a drawing with a big candy bar and a Plinko game and lots of interaction. So, and of course, a homeschool family doesn't usually have one kid. They have 4, 5, 6 kids. So when they stop to play a game and they're all playing, they're captive for 2, 3, 4 minutes, which allowed us to talk to people. And that whole weekend, I don't know that we ever went 10 minutes without somebody at the booth. It was nonstop. And we had a college person in a booth next to us. They said, what do you do again? Why is everybody stopping there? It's like, we're just trying to make this fun. And what was most interesting is while we have a huge homeschool following, I would say probably 95% of the people that stopped had no idea who we were, which
Wow.
means that we're just at the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And then the ones who did know us, they were just like enamored with the fact that I can't believe you're here. And it's just so humbling to
Yeah.
be in that spot where you realize, wow, the kids that watch us every day, we are celebrities. This is what they watch. And so to us, it's like, this is so funny. We are just sharing the gospel and sharing truth. But it's, again, and for a dad like me, to have a daughter to do ministry in a real way with, I'll probably ride this horse as long as she lets me. I'm the most luckiest dad in the world to do that.
Aw.
It's really fun. So, and then with the old schoolhouse, well, we used to get the old schoolhouse when we were homeschooling, and I remember after our kids graduated and our channel was starting to take off, I got an email from somebody from the old schoolhouse wanting to sell advertising, and I said, we're not at that spot right now to be putting money into advertising. What about the possibility of just cross promoting? You promote us, we'll promote you. We have the same audience. Yours is a lot bigger. And so we did that as a test thing last year. It was fun. And then, of course, now we're doing this again kind of this year too. And I just think, wow, there's a lot of homeschoolers that probably have no idea who we are. And there's probably a lot of Family Moments fans that didn't even know there was a resource out there called the Old Schoolhouse. They maybe have heard of it, maybe not. I don't know. But that's the whole purpose, is just to share the audience. And
Yeah. I've been to two conventions as part of the old schoolhouse, and it was so interesting to see just that mix. You found some brand new homeschoolers, just getting started, and what's the old schoolhouse, and what's the old schoolhouse magazine, and then there were, I've been reading those magazines for years. I love your magazine. So it was such a wonderful mix of meeting people, and so yeah, if you're thinking of heading to a convention, please do. There's so many treasures to find, so many people to meet. I encourage you to get out there and visit your local conventions. And so I'm so glad that your website has the word fun in it, because it's definitely a fun thing. But so tell us how people can find out more information, where they should go, if there's any other places they can
yeah,
go to
there's a
find
couple
you.
ways. Certainly, if you go to YouTube and just search Family Moments, we're going to pop up. You could search object lessons, we're going to pop up. It seems
Oh,
like there's
cool.
not a lot of people doing that. And there are
Interesting.
some,
Those are
but we're
hard to
certainly going to be up
find.
near the top. But Family
Yeah.
Moments will get you there. Or if you want to go to the website, it would just be familymomentsfun.com. We couldn't get familymoments.com. So it's familymomentsfun.com. And you
But
will
it
see,
makes so much sense to have
yeah.
the fun in it. Yeah.
So you'll see different lesson plans, different certainly merchandise and that type of stuff too. There's ways to support us or partner with us or advertise with us, all that stuff. We try to avoid coming across as just trying to sell people stuff. And it's funny when you do this, especially with the ministry heart, we don't chase fame and fortune, yet there's an element of both those. If you
Mm,
don't have some kind of fame, nobody can find you. They don't know who you are. If you don't have some kind of income, you can't pay the bills. But if you lead with those,
that's
it's
true.
futile, it's fleeting. And
Yeah.
so we try to balance with putting out quality stuff, over delivering, and letting the Lord lead with regard to buying stuff or supporting us, or we have what we call the fam club where people can get different, perks for whatever. And it's just fun. But I really appreciate uh, the worldwide audience we've got in different countries that connect with us. And I think this is really just bizarre. They have we had a lady over Christmas in the most remote part of Africa, in Congo, and it was doing a VBS, and really not a very safe place. And they were using our stuff, and of course, Sadie and I picked up the phone and just did a quick shout out to them, and they just were like head over heels and sent us a thing back with this whole African group of kids saying we love family moments. And I'm like, is this
Aw,
real? But it is. It's just a different way of doing ministry, and
I love it.
it's a blessing. So
Yeah.
I could share a lot of
Well,
stories like that, but I don't want to.
oh, that's
So,
great. No, this is great. And it's encouraging to me. And God bless your ministry and just let it expand as he wills it, and may be a blessing to
amen.
those who watch, those who reach out to you and your family. And yeah, we're looking to see more and more from you. That's awesome. So definitely check out familymomentsfun.com, and we'll make sure we'll pop that link in the comments for you to click right through. uh, and any other thoughts you had, Robbie, that you wanted to leave with us?
I would just, since most people watching are probably homeschoolers, just stay the course and just enjoy it. It goes fast, even though in the thick of it, it doesn't seem to go fast. When they're out of the house, all of a sudden it's a little lonelier, and you want some of
Oh,
those days back, and even the hard ones. So just enjoy them and nurture what their bent is. If they're bent towards a certain area or a subject,
yeah,
feed into that and
yeah.
encourage them. And I know you are, but don't get so caught up in the details that aren't going to matter,
Mm.
and just make your time at home a memorable thing they'll look back on and really cherish.
It's very good advice. Thank you so much, Robbie. And thank you for sharing about family moments and spending your time with us today. We're going to sign off for now,
Okay.
and we'll hope that all of you that are watching enjoy this video, and please share it with anyone you know who might need to know more about family moments. And we'll see you again for another Homeschool Live. Bye for now.
See you.